For about 5 years, you could not pass through the city of Haley without noticing all the yellow ribbons, the yellow balloons, and yellow signs calling for the return of Bowe Bergdahl. There were even some scattered around Boise, around the state capitol. Bowe Bergdahl is the Army soldier from Blaine County who was captured in Afghanistan by the Taliban in 2009 and finally returned in a prisoner exchange in 2014. Of course, there was a lot more to it than that. And Bergdahl was eventually charged, tried, and convicted after an investigation into how he became a captive of the Taliban. But that wouldn't be the end of it either, because a couple of years ago, Bergdahl filed a lawsuit to get that court-martial conviction voided. And yesterday, a federal judge did just that, vacating the 2017 conviction based on a potential conflict of interest with the presiding military judge. Apparently, that judge didn't disclose the fact he applied to be an immigration judge within then-President Trump's executive branch, and that posed a problem, Bergdahl's attorney claimed, because of the public comments Trump made about Bergdahl. Now that part, that Trump's comments may have influenced the outcome of the trial, that part was denied by the appellate judge. But that failure to disclose a conflict of interest part, that is why Bowe Bergdahl's desertion and misbehavior before an enemy conviction is no longer. So now what? Well, before we get to that, it might be worth revisiting through the KTVB archives how Bowe Bergdahl got to this point. Born in the Wood River Valley, the second child to Jenny and Bob Bergdahl, Bowe grew up spending a lot of time outdoors. He joined the Army in June of 2008, was stationed at Fort Richardson in Alaska within 4 months of that, and by February of 2009, he was deployed to Afghanistan. Then on the last day of June, Bowe Bergdahl went missing.
Any message to your people?
Americans first learned about his capture.
Yes. To my fellow Americans who have loved ones over here.
With the first images released by the Taliban of Private First Class Bowe Bergdahl's appeal.
You have the power to make our government bring them home.
On July 18th, 2009.
Please bring us home.
Early reports offered little insight as to how he got there. A 5-year ordeal that began 19 days earlier on June 30th.
Bergdahl came off patrol, dropped off his weapon and body armor, then gathered up a couple of water bottles, a compass, and a knife, and left the base alone.
Pentagon sources tell NBC's Jim Miklaszewski that Bergdahl disappeared when he went to meet Afghans he had befriended.
That's when the Taliban grabbed him.
Proof of identity came with the proof of life video, which U.S. officials immediately called propaganda.
Well, I'm scared. Scared I won't be able to go home. It is very unnerving to be a prisoner.
July 18th, a video surfaces on the internet showing Bergdahl out of uniform. We hear him choking back tears as he talks about his family in Haley.
I miss them, and I'm afraid that I might never see them again.
A day later,
please bring us home so that we can be back where we belong and not over here, wasting our time and our lives.
The Pentagon confirms it is Bergdahl and lists him as missing, captured.
Our commanders are sparing no effort to find this young soldier.
His hometown of Haley quickly becomes a national backdrop as media from all over the country tell his story, putting up yellow ribbons.
Well, as long as he's alive, of course, I certainly hope. And so that's what we're holding out for, is that he will be released.
While Bowe's parents remain secluded, the president makes it clear they are not forgotten.
We are doing everything we can. I can't talk in detail about.
Have you spoken to his family?
I have not spoken to his family at this point, simply because we want to make sure that before we do, we have something to tell them.
Within days.
This is great show of community support. That's what it's all about.
Family, friends, and neighbors hold a vigil to bring Bowe back.
Oh, America. Please continue to pray with us for Bowe, for the servicemen and women.
Nearly a year later, another video surfaces.
I miss them, I love them, and I pray to God to see them again.
He would see them again, but not for almost another 4 years.
Sitting in a pickup truck, we get our first clear image of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl in 3.5 years. He's clean-shaven and appears in fairly good physical condition.
Bergdahl, promoted to sergeant while in captivity, would be released on May 31st, 2014, in exchange for 5 Taliban leaders held by America.
5 years is a seemingly endless long time, but you've made it. Freedom is yours. I will see you soon, my beloved son.
And there's a lot of excitement in town. I mean, it's really all about that family and Bowe's service to the country.
Plans for a party began immediately.
It is going to be one huge party, the likes of which Haley has never seen.
But it's one they wouldn't see, because as details of how Bergdahl became a prisoner of war were released, of walking away from his post to draw attention to what he perceived as problems in military leadership, emotions about Bergdahl's return became mixed.
No yellow ribbons and POW signs taken down. And many outside Idaho have spoken out, seeking justice against him.
That attempt at justice would come less than a month after Bergdahl arrives back home on American soil.
In June 2014, the Army announces it will investigate Bergdahl's disappearance. In August, Bergdahl waives his right to remain silent and answers questions from Army investigators. The charges announced today against Bergdahl come 10 months after the Haley sergeant was released in a controversial prisoner exchange for 5 Taliban commanders held at Guantanamo Bay.
He was charged with desertion and misbehavior before the enemy.
Carries a maximum potential penalty of a dishonorable discharge, reduction to the rank of E1, total forfeiture of all pay and allowances, and possible confinement for life.
Bergdahl would plead guilty, and he would face a court-martial in 2017.
Bergdahl spoke on the stand for some 2 hours, detailing his capture and the 5 years spent in captivity. He also said he knew the desertion from his post resulted in the injuries of a handful of soldiers who searched for him.
He said he wants to take responsibility for his role in what happened, and that's why he was offering that apology today.
On November 3rd, 2017, instead of time in prison, Bergdahl gets a dishonorable discharge, a demotion, and a $1,000 forfeiture in pay. Then in February of 2021, Bergdahl believes he has grounds to have his verdict thrown out.
We get Bergdahl, we get a traitor. We get a no-good traitor.
The 16-page complaint claims that former President Donald Trump and Senator John McCain used their influence to affect this trial, and that a judge involved in the case failed to disclose that he had applied for a job in Trump's Department of Justice as an immigration judge and denied that there was any outside pressure on him during his ruling, and as a result denied him a fair trial before an impartial judge, as guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment.